Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Halo Sobat Literasi, selamat berjumpa kembali dengan saya Blantik Literasi, berliterasi setiap hari.
About consuming passion, the culture of American consumption,
about global lifestyle under local conditions,
about video dreams, television and cultural forms,
root identities in post-authoritarian politics,
about the Hollywood sign, the culture of American film,
utopian, dreams, semiotics, and the new media.
American makeover, constructing identity in the age of entertainment,
consumption patterns of the South Korean middle class and new generations, and middle class formation and consumption in Hong Kong.
The endemic world of the high consumer, fashion and cultural formation.
About consuming Asians, ideas and issues.
Brought to you by Design of Advertising.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Hello everyone. Today we will present our topic about consuming Asians, ideas and issues. But before we jump into our main topic today, our presentations today, we would like to introduce ourselves. My name is Rian Julian Safirdaus, and my study number is 2, and I'm from English Literature 2019. And I have 2 partners here to accompany me to deliver our presentations. So, okay, my friends, time is yours.
All right. Hello, everyone. My name is Muhammad Iksan Aziz. My student number is 003, and like Rian, I'm from English Literature 2019.
Hello, everyone. My name is Brittany Karen Joseph, and my student number is 23, and I'm also from English Literature 2019.
All right. Thank you so much, Isan and also Brittany. So now we are going to jump to our topic. So here is the table of contents. So we will discuss about first the phenomenon of consumption, and the second is consumptions in Asian context. Third, state and consumerisms. The fourth is the curse of Westernization. The fifth is generational divide, consuming youth. And the sixth is the impact of economic crisis. Okay, let's go to the first topic, the phenomenon of consumption. So, emergence of consumptions. With globalized capitalisms in the late 1970s, the phenomenon of consumption has expanded vastly. The consumption expansion was generated fundamentally in different ways, where advanced capitalized societies were organized. What ties individuals to society today is their activities as consumers. Their life is organized around consumption. Consumption as a subject for analysis in its own right emerged in social science. Rapid developments in the field as part of the investigations of popular culture were aided by the emergence of a loosely conceptualized discipline of cultural studies, which spawned numerous journals in rapid successions. Cultural studies itself blossomed rapidly from its beginnings with the popularization of several post-phenomena, including postmodernism, post-structuralism, and post-colonialism. And the second subtopics about the phenomenon of consumption is analyzing consumption. Consumption as a phenomenon is conceptually problematic. It is surrounded by its own systems of productions, distributions, marketing, procurement, and consumption. Take the manufacturing of clothes, for example. The production of particular garment is not located at a site within its local market area, but is dispersed across different sites around the world. The finished garment is distributed to its global market. At these market locations, international marketing and advertising agencies work with local media and direct retailers to move the items to its final destinations, that is, consumptions by individual or households. And the third subtopic is consumptions and identity. A central concern of the analysis of the particular items of consumption is the place of these objects in the identity constructions of its consumers. The positive spin on the idea of consumption is identity formation contrast sharply with earlier writings on consumptions. For example, social scientists had been inclined to adopt the 1950s image of consumers as easily manipulated into buying products, useful or otherwise by false premises emblazoned in advertisement. That is because consumption is treated as a process by which artifacts are not simply consumed, but given meaning through their activity incorporations in people's life. The innovative ways of using mass production goods are conceptualized as stylists, which are expressive of the identities of the users. And the second topic is consumption in Asian context. So, like what Robinson and Goodman said, that it is as consumers that the new rich of Asia have attracted an interest of almost cargo called proportions in the West. They constitute the new markets for Western products, processed foods, computer software, educational services, and films and TV shows. They are the new tourists bringing foreign exchange in hard times. Then the previous statement was made before the mid-19th and 97 Asian economic crisis. Undoubtedly, the crisis has reversed the existing level of consumption as significant proportions of the population into unemployment and poverty. In Singapore, regional economic devastations caused 4.5% unemployment in the third quarter of 1998, while in Indonesia, 50% of the total population was poverty-stricken by the end of 1998. In every nation, the new industrial wage-earning urban populations could not avoid consuming mass-produced goods as they continued to increase their labor power. Every urban individual and household of any income level was likely to consume these discretionary consumptions goods that even but become constitutive elements of their everyday life. For example, in Singapore, low-income families living in one-room, rented public housing flats were rarely without such household durables as TVs, VCRs, and telephones. And consumerism as a general conflict. Unlike the situations in the West or Japan, the consumerism culture remained shallow in the regions. First, improvement in the material conditions of the populations had been a cornerstone of government. Second, class divisions were becoming increasingly apparent. Third, there remains a significant population segment who have lived through underdevelopment. Their moral or ideological positions on savings has made them resistant to the rapid expansion of consumerism. Additionally, this group sees the consumerist culture as the consequence of the traditional culture practices by Western, particularly American cultures. Thus, the moral debate on consumption has often been characterized as a generational conflict supposedly between the deprived generation who embody thrift as a traditional value and the affluent and fast-spending Westernized generations. Okay, the next topic will be delivered by my friends. Iksan, time is yours.
All right, thank you, Rian, for the time. Well, the next is about state and consumerism. We will start from authoritarian consumerism. The semiotic governments of East and Southeast Asia in 1980s encouraged the expansion of consumption as evidence of their successes in generating and maintaining economic growth. Asian governments concurrently emphasized the needs for racist and consumerist lifestyle for two major reasons. First, high-saving cultures are part of the process of capital formation and reduce dependency on international borrowing. For example, in Singapore, stringent conditions for issuing of credit cards and personal loans. Second, consumerist culture lead to excessive materialistic orientation, generating insatiable demands for which a government might be held responsible if it were unable to provide. For example, in Singapore, in the election year of 1996 till 97, cost of living increases were capitalized on by opposition parties and turned into a political issue. And the third, excessive consumerism of those who were economically successful inevitably served as a reminder to the lower income groups of their own deprivations, thus exposing and emphasizing class divisions and conflict. Next, government strategies in consumption. While to penetrate consumption, the Singapore and Hong Kong tourist boards and their retail organization intensived the promotion throughout Asia of their respective annual month-long, which is called Great Sale. While in Malaysia, the government had reduced the minimum level of monthly credit card payment from 15% to 5% in 1998. In general, the crisis-stricken economies need to stimulate consumption has been a kickstart to providing a sense of confidence in the economic themselves. Thus, across the region, the traditional morality of savings is to be sacrificed in order to save capitalism in Asia. Also, governmental and administrative strategies to restrain consumption have given way to stimulate consumption among those who have not been adversely affected. Next is about the curse of Westernization. So, what causes anti-Western? Asian countries such as Taiwan, Hong Kong, Singapore, Malaysia, and Indonesia has long been known of being anti-Western in general and anti-American in particular. The primary motive behind this anti-Western act is political, such as the first one is the West liberal democracy challenges Asia's authoritarian and semi-democratic ideology. Second is the political differences are often discursively formulated. And the third is the bright head of insidious invasion. For instance, products imported from West are ideologically treated in the importing nations. Next. Asia as the West and Japanese market. Asia is not only the market of Western, but also for Japanese consumer goods. Yet, with the exception of Taiwan, there is no anti-Japan in the consumer cultural discourse, as there is anti-American. The difference in attitudes is due only in part to the cultural contents of the goods imported from the two countries. In general, the bulk of Japanese imports to the rest of Asia are identified with technology items. For example, household goods such as cars, TVs, refrigerators, radios, and other electronic goods. Japanese technological superiority is recognized in this consumer product. Next. The curse of Western's mass entertainment. Well, mass entertainment programs are seen as the carriers of Western liberal values, especially individualism, which become a common themes of films, TV programs, and popular music. The programs are considered to reflect the moral laxity of liberalism, where individual rights and self-interest rule with such disastrous consequences are as high diverse rates, legal protection for criminals over the rights of crime victims, sexual promiscuity, and drugs abuse. The biggest fear is that liberal individualism will make inroads into the cultural sphere of local Asian populations, leading them away from local tradition values and undermining a local social cohesion. All right, for the next will be delivered by my dearest friend. Brittany, time's yours.
Thank you, Isan, for the time. Okay, now fifth, generational divide, the consuming youths. Youths and unlimited consumption. Youths are the window for unlimited consumption. They only constrained by financial circumstance. Consumption pattern of youths are highly visible, making it an easy target for criticism. There is a tendency for the older generation to criticize youth for their excesses in lifestyles. For example, like talking out in designer or branded clothes and accessories, and also spending time and money in discos and other expensive foreign restaurants, a condition only aggravated by stints of living and studying in foreign lands in the case of returned students. The criticism of excesses was at the same time both economic and moral or ideological. Moral criticism on consuming youths. The moral criticism of excesses had a cultural and economic element directed at the Westernization of Asian youth. This can be best illustrated by examining youth fashion. At a very general level, a perennial question on youth fashion is, why do youth always dress to shock their elders, without any apparent understanding that shock itself is a mechanism through which teenagers define themselves against their parents? The second issue is parents' skepticism towards youth's claim to individuality through the way they dress. They point out that the latter, in fact, wear similar clothes and are therefore conforming to a code rather than breaking away with individual styles. Sixth, the impact of economic crisis to Asian consumption. Asian economic crisis. As a result of the economic crisis that began in the mid-1997, these countries, including South Korea, Indonesia, and Thailand, were affected with serious unemployment and become preoccupied with macroeconomic deflation and also prolonged recession. The much-touted performance of many governments in the region have been exposed as a veneer laid of massive corruption and nepotism. But what happened during the 1997 crisis? First, social division and structural gap. The crisis fell unevenly. The upper classes became richer, while the low and mid classes suffered from unemployment. Second, macroeconomic deflation. There are declines in prices for goods, service, and properties. Third, financial struggles among generation. During the crisis, youths suffer more unemployment and economic uncertainty compared to the older generation. And fourth, there is an importance of symbolic value, which is the tendency of the upper classes to buy things when prices are down to demonstrate their financial soundness. The important symbolic value to elites. Rather than diminishing in the times of recession and crisis, the symbolic value of consumption became more important for the high class. The need to maintain a lifestyle is all more necessary to the newly rich to communicate to the world that they are unaffected and is economically well. This is in hope of retaining the confidence from their colleges and business associates. This happens because the selling off of items, goods, and properties during the crisis has eased the entry of property ownership for those who have been propertyless and for those who are secure but have been looking to upgrade their accommodation buying properties that would have been unaffordable before the crisis. Consumption culture during the crisis. If at all possible, for the upper classes, one should buy a new house or a new car, perhaps, to demonstrate both the soundness of one's financial position and business savvy in buying when prices are down. A scenario here is during December on 1998 in Singapore. In the midst of the economic downturn, 200 new Mercedes were sold in the first week of the annual car show. The concern, therefore, is not abstinence, but rather manipulating the symbolic value of consumption. And that was all for our presentation. Thank you everyone for your attention. If you have any question, please comment below. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.